our very special guest speaker today, the renowned author, retired Coast Guard Chief Petty Officer, Alex Haley.
Admiral Danielle, Admiral Welling, and all hands. Walking out here and then sitting here, I was sort of running through my mind lots of different things and looking at the place where precious honored ones are buried right there, looking at this newly unveiled monument, honor to Pea Island, and then looking at the youngsters over there who are sitting up on the front row who were singing, and the rest of us of different ages and phases of this life we share. I was thinking about how at a point in the book Roots, I had the little boy Kunta Kinte, where his grandmother, whose name was Neo Boto, had passed away, and Kunta was crying his head off. And he felt a hand on his shoulder, and it was his father, Omaro. His father said to him something like, "My son, it is time that I must teach you that there are three sets of people in every village. There are those, the first set, who, like your grandmother, have gone on to spend the rest of time in the hereafter with all the rest of the people who have preceded her even. And then, my son, the second set of people are those like you and me who are privileged now to be walking around and talking and acting within our village and interacting with other villages as we do. And then, my son, probably I will precede you and join your grandmother. And then in time, you will follow me and join your grandmother. And then those who will take your and my places now are those who are not yet here. They are in the loins of you and your playmates. And they will become, and they will be the third set of people who are in every village." And I thought that in a certain way we here gathered now are such a village. We are honoring those who have gone on to be where Neo Boto went, in the hereafter. And we are doing the things we do, and we will join them. And then our places will be taken by those not even here yet. In one sense, that was one thing I thought, and then another was, this morning I was having something of an interview, and one of the questions that the reporter asked, which is asked almost everywhere nowadays, is, are racial situations getting any better? And I was thinking also, sitting here, as I told him, there are things around us. You simply cannot deny that, yes, things are getting better. I was thinking that this ceremony is one of the most graphic, dramatic opportunities I have had to see how it is getting better. This would not have happened some years back. It would not have happened when I came into the Coast Guard. Now, many others of us here who are in the Coast Guard. And I think that the fact that we have here two ranking admirals, we have here many of us who are or have been in the Coast Guard. We have among those here many who are black, now commissioned officers in the Coast Guard. And that would not have happened in the time that Pea Island was going. So I think that we look at, and we are being part of, the fact that, yes, though their problems remain, we are doing lots better than once was the case. I thought about Pea Island itself. It's a particular pleasure for me to be here. When I first heard from Admiral Welling that this occasion would take place, and I was so glad that this date was open for me to be here, because I have, in the years I was in the Coast Guard, 20 years, I would hear about Pea Island, particularly when I was stationed here in this district, on the old Cutter Mendota and on the Pamlico over in New Bern and at Coast Guard Air Station in Elizabeth City. Pea Island, even then, was a legend I knew some of the people who went there. I met some of the sailors, fellow Coast Guardmen, who bore the famous surnames of the people who had served at Pea Island. And somehow, in all that period of time, I never got a chance to go to Pea Island and see it. I heard so much about it, though. And so it's an honor, very truly an honor, to come here and be part of this commemoration of those men and of that station, which are part of the Coast Guard's legends and history and pride. I would close with sharing with you another thing out of Roots that's kind of symbolic. It was easily the most exciting, dramatic thing that ever happened to me in the course of it. The book was published. It was being very handsomely received much around the world. We were filming like crazy, trying to get the film ready to come out while the book was still going so well. We had filmed from Kunta Kinte's birth in a country in Africa, Gambia. We had filmed him growing up there, his going off to what they call the manhood training, like Boy Scouts here, something like that. And then, not long after that, he was chopping wood to make a drum for his brother, and he heard a twig crack, and he sprang around, and they were ordered. They tied him up, they chained him. And then we had him coming across the ocean in the slave ship, as did happen. The ship, in fact, and I must say that the writing of the book in that area, the maritime area, for me was just immeasurably enhanced and challenging because of the 20 years I had spent at the Coast Guard. I was very marine-minded, so I had to get everything I could about the ship and its passage. The ship was the Lord Ligonier. She was built in this country in New Hampshire. It was her maiden voyage. She went to England. She got a full cargo of 36. She sailed to Africa, and she stayed several months. She got a cargo finally of 140 Africans. She set sail July 5th, 1767, sailed 2 months, 2 weeks, and 3 days, and arrived in Annapolis, Maryland, with on the morning of September 29th, 1767, and of the original 140 who left Africa, 98 survived, and they were sold at auction. And this particular one was sold to the brother of a doctor whose name was William Waller in Spotsylvania County, Virginia. And on that plantation, there happened what happened to almost all the Africans, was whoever bought them gave them a name. The surname was the name of whoever owned them, but they gave them a first name. And this man, this doctor, who was said to be quite a good master as they went, decided this African should be named Toby. And so the master, in order of protocol, called in his overseer. And in the playing of the film, the actor who played that role was the late Vic Morrow. You may remember Vic lost his life in the helicopter accident with the 2 children. And Vic was such a beautiful actor. He would make you forget Vic Morrow in favor of the character he was playing. In this case, he was that low-down, evil, no-good overseer. He made me so mad that one afternoon I told him I was sorry I'd created him. and we used to laugh about that, but later, Vic went to the old slave who was teaching the young African to be a slave, and that was Lou Gossett, playing the role of Fiddler. And Fiddler went to the young African and said to him, "Look, boy, now this is how it is. You just take the name Massa give you, and you go on and forget all about that African name, and it'll be fine." But this African youth would have no part of it. And finally, of course, the overseer went back, and the master gave permission that he could be beaten to make him say his name. We were filming in Savannah, Georgia, an afternoon. They had gotten a little space of ground, cut all the grass off so there was bare earth, and we brought in 4 bamboo poles and drove them like X's, 2 here, 2 there, and then a slender pole across where they crossed. And the African, LeVar Burton, was brought out in a loincloth, his wrists tied, and they were tied up over his head. The old slave, Lou Gossett, was brought and seated right to the right of him on the ground, a punishment because he had not been able to do his job to make him say his name. And then the director came looking for everything. He saw about 25 of us sitting around like writers and producers who were just praying it would go in one take. And he saw the cinematographer, Joe Wilcox, with 3 cameras double loaded, the sound man, Willie Edwards, with 4 men with state-of-the-art Dolby sound on wands that would pick up a whisper. And then he looked over there and he barked the magic word, action. And out came the overseer swaggering, this soul of being so arrogant. And he looked up at the fellow, the African, and he said, "What's your name, boy?" And by the script, LeVar said quietly, "Kunta." And then the overseer smirked and he looked back over there, and there was a tall, brown-skinned fellow in a loincloth. He was actually a basketball player we had recruited out of Savannah State College. He had a whip, and he came forward and hit with the whip. LeVar screamed and writhed. The truth is that a scene like this, the whip is made of loosely woven hemp. It wouldn't hurt a baby, but the actor expecting it acts out the agony. And LeVar did such a job that after 3 blows, those of us watching were ready to go kill the man with the whip. It feels that way. And then again he asked his name, and now LeVar could just whisper his name was Kunta. There were 3 more blows, and then LeVar was hanging there, and he just barely turned, and he barely whispered, "Toby Massa." And the overseer whirled triumphantly and yelled at him again, "What's your name?" louder, and now weakly, hardly audibly, he said again, "Toby Massa." Then the overseer whirled to walk out of the scene, and he threw it over his shoulder, cut him down. The man with the whip had a knife, and he cut him down. And we had, in the scripting, writing it, taken advantage of something we had, and that is when you have an expert veteran actor and you have an emotional scene that's going to end a whole segment, as this was the second night, we were taking advantage of the fact that Lou Gossett could ad-lib the ending. You didn't have to write everything he was to say. And we just figured that Lou would pat him on the head, he would make faces, he'd make sounds or something. But when LeVar slid down and he lit in Lou's lap, we knew that we were about to see something you rarely ever see, and that's when a veteran actor becomes so emotionally overcome, they forget all about the script and become that role. Lou's head went back. He flooded with tears. No man could cry as he was crying in acting. His body shook as if somebody had him in a vice and was doing that with him. Nobody could act what his body did. And Lou's arms flung out, and he grabbed LeVar and jerked him to him. His right hand went up from the elbow, the right palm on his cheek, and he turned LeVar's face until the 2 eyes were about that far apart. It was like as intimate as a mother and an infant. And Lou, through his tears, just cried from his soul, "Day's gonna be a better day." And a little beat, and he cried it again, the same thing. And maybe 10 seconds passed, and click, 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 the last film ran through 3 cameras. And we used virtually every millimeter of it. It was the most emotional scene in the whole of Roots. And what moves me so much about it, and why I like to recount it, was because I love history. And what moves me so much is, if you reflect upon that we are, all of us here, no matter who we are, nor where we come from, we are the descendants of those people who lived at that time, who prayed for a better world for their children's children and on down the line. And here we are. You probably could not design a more graphic, positive answer to a prayer than what we represent here today. Our forefathers, those who went before us, including the people at Pea Island, could not have fantasized this gathering this afternoon in this place for this purpose. And so I think that some of what we are here for, and what we seem to symbolize, at least to me, is that we have come here today to prove that there has come to be a better day. Thank you.
Mr. Meekins will now take care of the unveiling of the monument.
Oh!